All right, let's dive right into this explainer by declaring a pretty hard truth. The old school dictatorial way we used to lead teams, yeah, it's officially dead in the modern workplace. Honestly, if you're still relying on a top-down command and control approach to get things done, you aren't just frustrating your employees, you are actively suffocating your team's potential and holding your entire organization back. So today, we're going to explore a radically different blueprint. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll start with the command and control problem, define what servant leadership actually is, break down its 5 core pillars, look at some real-world servant brands, compare traditional versus servant leadership, and finally, we'll wrap up with some actionable implementation steps. Section 1, the command and control problem, and exactly why these outdated tactics are totally suffocating your teams. This quote from leadership expert J.J. Delgado honestly sets the stage perfectly. He talks about what he calls the click era, a time where literally every single second matters and disruption is just the new normal. In this era, leadership is no longer about barking orders. If you demand that every single decision runs through you, or if you're micromanaging exactly how every task has to be done, you've essentially become the biggest bottleneck to your team's agility. The contrast between the past and the present is pretty staggering. Think about the top-down factory floors of the industrial age versus the fast-paced, fluid teams we absolutely need in today's digital landscape. Now, that traditional, rigid model, it worked great when tasks were purely mechanical and predictable. But today, innovation moves at the speed of thought. Your cross-functional teams have to be able to pivot instantly. If your incredibly highly skilled employees are just sitting around waiting for a permission slip or detailed instructions from you, well, your competitor has already won the game. Moving right along to Section 2, defining servant leadership. This is a radical shift in organizational hierarchy. Okay, picture this. Back in 1970, an AT&T executive named Robert K. Greenleaf decided to flip the traditional vertical corporate pyramid completely upside down. He formalized a theory built around being a servant first. It suggests that true leaders serve their employees, not the other way around. So instead of the employees grinding away just to make the boss look good, the boss works relentlessly to remove roadblocks so the employees can be truly great. I absolutely love the backstory to this because it brilliantly anchors the whole concept. Greenleaf was actually inspired by a character named Leo in Hermann Hesse's novel Journey to the East. In the story, Leo travels with a group as their servant. He does their chores, he keeps their spirits high. But when Leo suddenly disappears, the group completely falls apart and abandons their journey. Eventually, they find out Leo was actually the head of the entire order the whole time. The major takeaway here? Without the person who serves, supports, and unblocks the team, the whole operation just collapses. Section 3, the 5 core pillars. Let's dig into the foundational elements of a servant-first mindset. While researchers over the years have identified upwards of 10 or more traits, these 5 form the absolute bedrock of the philosophy. We've got listening, empathy, empowerment, stewardship, and a commitment to the growth of others. Let's rapid fire through what these actually look like in the real world. First step, listening and empathy. You see, a servant leader doesn't just issue commands. They listen deeply. They put themselves in their employees' shoes to build real, genuine trust. It's about taking the time to actively understand what your team is actually struggling with, rather than just telling them to work harder. You lead through persuasion and building consensus. You're completely abandoning that old, do it because I'm the boss and I said so mentality. Next, we have the delicate balance of empowerment and stewardship. You have to give your team the absolute autonomy to innovate, to make decisions, and yes, even to fail without fear of getting fired. But at the exact same time, you act as the steward. You are the ultimate caretaker of the organization. You take accountability for the team's resources, their well-being, and the long-term legacy you're building together. The final core pillar is a relentless commitment to growth. At the end of the day, your success as a leader in this model is measured entirely by how much the people below you learn, grow, and succeed. You have to constantly ask yourself, are the people who work for me becoming better professionals and better humans? Because if the answer is yes, the profits and the productivity, they're naturally going to follow. Section 4, real-world servant brands. Let's look at the hard evidence of how top companies are using this exact model to win. Southwest Airlines is a legendary example of this in action. Colleen Barrett, their president emeritus, championed a super simple philosophy. Treat your people right and good things will happen. Southwest actually proves this by empowering their frontline staff to just use their common sense. For instance, if a customer is stranded, an employee is empowered to instantly book them a hotel room. No waiting in some endless bureaucratic nightmare for management's approval. they trust their people, and the result is literal world-class customer loyalty. We see the exact same DNA at heavyweights like Google, Microsoft, and Starbucks. These giants lean into extreme employee care. We're talking funding education, providing mental health resources, and intentionally fostering a culture where people truly feel they belong. And they don't just do this because it sounds nice on a brochure. It's a core driver for immense productivity and revenue. Starbucks actually operates on the explicit belief that how you treat your people is exactly how your people are going to treat your customers. Now, get a load of this number. 130. That is the number of years Synovis Financial has successfully utilized a servant leadership culture. Since 1888. They've operated on the principle that people who are loved, respected, and prepared simply perform better. To put that into perspective, it proves that servant leadership isn't just some fleeting modern tech fad. It is a highly sustainable, century-long strategy that works just as well in heavily regulated traditional industries. Section 5. Traditional versus servant leadership. Let's do a quick side-by-side comparison to synthesize all of this. It's really fascinating to see the shift from pushing buttons to architecting environments. In the traditional, highly transactional model, you're looking at a vertical ladder focused entirely on the company's bottom line, where the leader acts as a boss issuing commands. But flip to the servant model, and that hierarchy flattens out horizontally. The primary focus shifts entirely to the employee. You are no longer a commander, you're a coach. You become a catalyst, specifically designed to unlock the incredible talent you already hired. Section 6. Implementing servant leadership. Okay, let's talk actionable steps you can use to change your leadership style today. First, you absolutely have to foster radical transparency. You need to let your team challenge you because that is how everyone grows. Second, lead by example. Honestly, don't ever ask your team to do anything you wouldn't be willing to do yourself. And third, and this is a big one, rethink how you evaluate your team. Instead of rigidly reviewing past mistakes once a year and some scary formal performance review, switch to frequent weekly coaching check-ins. Just sit down and ask, hey, what are your roadblocks? And what do you need from me to succeed today? Now, brace yourself, because the hardest part of this transition is simply letting go of control. You have to get comfortable with the discomfort of not managing every single little detail. You have to remember, you hired incredibly smart, capable people. Your job now is to set clear boundaries and the overarching vision, and then take a massive step back so they can actually do the jobs you hired them to do. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final massive question to reflect on as you head back to your teams. Look closely at your daily interactions. In today's incredibly fast digital era, are you stifling your team by commanding them to follow outdated rules? Or are you unlocking their absolute highest potential by catalyzing their growth? Remember, the future belongs to the catalysts. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.